Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. If you guys are new to this channel, hi, my name is Leslie, and I usually do videos with Yaya, but she's not here today, so I'm going to be doing story time on when I got diagnosed with Castleman disease. So I've attempted to do this video for about 4 years, and each time I try and do it, it just doesn't happen, so I'm gonna try this time for you guys. So I am doing this video not because I want people to feel bad for me, but I simply am putting this video out to let people know that anything is possible with God. If you ever have a rough patch in your life or anything that you can't solve, just put your faith in Him and He will help you. So I'm going to be starting from the very beginning of the story so you guys can understand. So it was the end of my 7th grade year. I was 13 years old, and the first day of summer I was going to my cousin's graduation, and that night we went out to eat, and I started getting this pain in my stomach. I thought it was because what I ate, but then I had it again the next day and the next day and the next day, but it started getting worse and worse. I also had headaches that just got worse and worse as time went. So I waited a week to tell my parents because I was the type of person that I didn't like asking for help until I couldn't do nothing for myself anymore. So I decided to tell my parents, and they took me to the clinic. So the clinic told me that the reason why I was experiencing these pains was because my hemoglobin was really low. So they prescribed me with iron pills and said, "You're gonna be fine, you can go home." So I went home, I took those iron pills, and they weren't helping. So about another week later, I decided, well, the pain started getting worse. So one night, I couldn't handle the pain. My mom and dad rushed me to the ER. The ER, while I was waiting, they said that I needed a blood transfusion. So, and more white plate cells, something like that. But I needed more because I didn't have enough in my body. So I was transfused with blood that night, and I went home feeling better, but only it got worse the next day. So I didn't tell my parents that day, but I waited till I couldn't handle the pain anymore. But then I went again. I told them again, and this time I couldn't handle the pain. I was in so much pain, so they took me to the ER again, and this time it was a hospital. So all I can remember is me complaining like there's pain, and the doctors and the nurses kept asking me what was wrong, and I kept telling them, but they kept asking me the same questions. So I was really frustrated, and all I could do was cry and cry. So they kept asking me, and I just told them, like, in my stomach, I feel stabbing pain in my stomach. But they kept asking, like, in different words, like, what was wrong, but I kept telling them. So that was very frustrating. And then the next minute, like, I really can't handle this pain. This pain is like someone stabbing you in the stomach and, like, in the head. So I couldn't handle it no more. Like, all I remember is, like, I woke up and they put me to sleep, basically. So after that, when I was in the ER, they had told my parents that the first time I went to the clinic and they told me my hemoglobin was that low, they should have automatically given me a blood transfusion, but they didn't. So that was that doctor's fault. Not fault, but I guess he missed it, and it had gotten worse because I didn't treat it that first time. So at this point, the doctors were running all the tests they could, and the nurses would come in and take blood and run tests. So they didn't really find out what it was. I was just getting worse. So they then decided to transfer me to Loma. So while I was at Loma, I got there, and they would ask me the same questions. So it was like the same thing all over again. So I was frustrated, my parents were frustrated, my family was frustrated because they weren't giving us any answers, and we didn't know what was wrong, and stuff just kept getting worse. My kidneys were not functioning how they were supposed to. My fevers were really high. My lymph nodes were enlarged. I did have seizures one night, and I did do dialysis, and there was a lot. There was a lot that went on that I really can't remember everything, but the most important things I've said. So as that was happening, they still didn't know what was wrong. They did scans, they did ultrasounds. I took a bunch of medication. They didn't know what was wrong, and I was like, at that moment, I knew I had a lot of people praying for me. My whole church was praying for me. A lot of people were praying for me, so I knew I was going to be good. And at the moment, it was like whatever happened, happened. I wasn't really sad about it at that point. In my head, I was just like, whatever happens, happens. Like, if I don't make it, then I don't make it. At least the suffering will be gone. That's what I would think to myself. But one day, as they kept doing scans, they did a biopsy on my enlarged lymph node. And these hospitals that I've went to, they didn't know what was wrong because what I had was very rare. Nobody in the hospital has ever had it, so it took them longer. And so as they did the biopsy on my lymph node, which was right here, it was really big. They took it out, and I have a scar from it still, but I don't think you can see it, but I'll show you guys maybe. So they did a biopsy on that, and they ran tests, and they called other hospitals, like, this is what's happening, and hospital's not here in California, and they had figured out that it was Castleman disease. So Castleman disease is a rare disease of enlarged lymph nodes, and this caused everything that I had and things. So the doctors did a biopsy of my lymph node that I had here, and I had a lot throughout my body that were enlarged, and they started calling other hospitals to see if they had anything that they could help with. And later on, I would say like 2 weeks later, after being at Loma, actually like 3 weeks later after I was at Loma, they diagnosed me with Castleman disease. For those of you who don't know what Castleman disease is or what it is, that's what I meant, what it is. It's a rare disease of enlarged lymph nodes. So that caused everything that happened. If it was treated sooner, maybe I wouldn't have went through all of it. But so the doctors tried dialysis, different types of medications. They tried a lot for me to get better, but nothing was working. So they decided that I would do chemotherapy, and my parents agreed, of course, because there was no other options at this point. So I did chemotherapy, and when the doctor came in to explain what it was, I started crying because all I could think about was that I was going to lose my hair. That's all I could think about. I didn't care about anything else. I had really long hair, and at 13, that was a very big deal for me. Like, I was gonna lose all my hair. So while I did chemo, I did 3 rounds of chemo, and at the second one, after the second round of chemo, I did start feeling better. And I did start feeling better. And chemo, it didn't hurt. I just couldn't eat a lot. Like, my kidneys were like barely starting like to work how they used to. So I couldn't really eat. I got really skinny. I was really swollen from my face, from my arms, from my legs. I'll put a picture up right now so you guys can see. But my face, I couldn't even open my eyes. And to be honest, I've always, like, even at that moment, I thought it was so funny that I looked like that because I really couldn't open my eyes. Like, I would even tell, like, my mom and dad, like, oh, let's take a picture. Like, I was super swollen. I'll put a picture up because I have one. But yeah, chemo was not hard until I started losing my hair. And the doctor did tell me that I actually had a lot of doctors because it was different things. I had like a whole room of doctors, but because they were all trying to figure out what was wrong with me. But so the doctor did tell me that I should cut my hair short so it wouldn't affect me as much, but I didn't want to. Like, I wanted to keep my hair for as long as I could. So yeah. So I was in the hospital in Loma for about 2 months. Everything was kind of slow because we weren't getting answers, and yeah, it was just going by slow for us, for my family, and I thank everybody that prayed for me because I am here today, stronger than ever, and I believe that God does everything for a reason. So yeah. So after this, I was released home. I was home hospitalized. I don't know what it's called, but I was also homeschooled. So at this point, my hair is already coming out. Um, they sent me home with a bunch of medications, and I had a checkup like once a week or twice a week. And as time went, like the appointments got shorter. There was one day that I was in the shower and just a bunch of hair fell out. And that was like the hardest part for me. Like, oh, that was the hardest part for me, seeing all my hair fall out. So I then went to my grandma and I was like, just cut it short. I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be this hard. So she cut it short. And as time went on, my hair kept falling and falling. I then decided that I wanted to go back to school. So I was very eager since I came out of the hospital. I always wanted to go home and I always wanted to go to school. And I was so eager. I would talk to my doctors like, can I go back to school? Can I please go back to school? I did have to wear a mask. When they said I could go back to school, like 2 weeks later after the hospital, like I was begging them. I told them I would do everything how I was supposed to. And I did go back to school. And like, I did go back to school. The problem, I thought it was gonna be so easy. Like, I thought, oh, I'm gonna be okay. But truth is, like, everything was not how I expected it to be. I was so behind in all my classes. People treated me different. Even my family would treat me like I was fragile, and I hated that. Like, I would cry because people treated me different, and I didn't want to be treated different. So I went back to school, and everything was just not how I expected it to be. At this point, all my hair didn't fall out all at the same time, only because I had cut it short. So some, like, from the back was falling more than the front, and the back was falling more. The middle had stayed. So I didn't cut it off. I didn't shave my head. I just waited so I wasn't all bald at the same time. I had like little hairs growing, and so I never really cut it short. And I'll be putting pictures up at the end so you guys can see it. But that's really the story. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I want you guys to know that everything and anything is possible with God. at the time, I would ask so many questions like, why me? Why did this happen to me? But now I understand, and it's just made me a stronger person. Like, I feel like I can fight through any and everything, and everything happens for a reason. Just always have faith for the things that you can't solve or you have no control over. He does, and he will help in the way he thinks is the best way. Sometimes it's not always going to be a good outcome, but it's what he wants, and everything happens for a reason. To this day, everything still affects me. I don't have it anymore, but there always is a chance that it will. But I'm not scared of it, only because I know God's got me. And it so affects me in the way that sometimes I think like, I can wake up tomorrow and this will all be all over again. I have to go through it all over again. My family has to go through it all over again. There's days that I'm scared to put my on to everything I do, because that's all I can think about. Like, what if it just comes back again? What if I'm in the hospital again? What if I lose 3, all the what ifs. But now I just trust, now I just want to trust that he's got me, and he's going to do whatever is in his, in the path, whatever he has in store for me. Yeah. So this also made me, okay. So the biggest struggle for me having Castleman disease was obviously seeing what my parents were going through. I think that was the very hardest part for me. The second hardest part for me was losing all my hair and having stretch marks at the age of 13. I have them everywhere now, and now I'm not very insecure about them. I just see it as it's part of me, and they're just a good memory that I fought through what I had. But I was very insecure at the time, all my friends had long hair, no stretch marks, and I actually got very skinny too, so it was hard for me to not be insecure again, but I got into that point, and I just want to thank God for everything and my family that stood through everything. Like, my friends were always texting me, and I didn't want really anyone to see me, so I never invited my friends to the hospital. Like, they would text me and ask me, like, can I go see you? And I would say, no, sorry, it's only family. And I didn't even want my family to see me. There's points that a lot of them would go visit me, and I would just act like I was asleep, because I didn't want nobody seeing me like that. So that is really the end of the story. And I just want to thank God for everything he has done for me and for my family. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll be putting like a little slideshow after this, so you guys can see some pictures. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.
Trials that seem to never end. His word declares this truth, that we will enter in this rest with wonders anew. But I hold on to this hope and the promise that he brings.